We live in a curious time when certain games create an entire genre in its wake. Castlevania-likes, Metroidvanias, Zelda-likes, Souls-likes, roguelikes, Diablo clones. It goes as far as developing Doom-like games was a real thing last century. But where there's success in one area, there is an empty vacuum of possibilities for other games that are no less important in our minds. One such game was released on March 15th, 2001 in Bochum, Germany, of all places. A small indie studio by the name of Piranha Bytes was formed in 1997, and its founder started working on a game that would later influence millions of people in Germany, Poland, Ukraine, Russia, and other countries of the Eastern Europe. These people would later grow to become game developers, irreversibly influenced by this video game, so they would carry the torch and create something that they hold dear, something that would remind them of simpler times of teenage years, when the only troubles were paying subscription fee for World of Warcraft, going to shower at least once a week, and half-heartedly doing math homework. Morrowind wasn't born yet, so the Elder Scrolls hype machine didn't start until the year 2001. No, the stage was given to a certain game called Gothic. Front and center, like a boa constrictor, it captured the attention of people worldwide to its unforgiving gameplay, masterfully curated atmosphere, charming soundtrack, memorable story and characters, and branching storyline that was practically unheard of in these years. Almost 24 years later, the formula of Gothic 1 and 2 still cannot be topped. With each installment of Risen and Ilax, they strayed farther and farther away from what made them so original. Piranha Bytes could no longer seize the magic formula out of fate's hands. And unfortunately, after pumping out a surprising Nintendo Switch port of Gothic 1 and 2, which I proudly own, so now my train rides are not so bland, the studio shut down in June 2024. Considering that Gothic is older than many of my viewers here, when people start playing this video game now, it is certainly for nostalgia's sake first and gameplay second. But not only that, although it's clear that Gothic series is not about groundbreaking graphics, it's about experiencing a one-of-a-kind game that set the tone for all open-world RPGs that came after it. It is that influential. I mean, the winning formula is right there. Semi-non-linear RPG with gritty atmosphere, fantastic music, great script, and tons of content with over 6 chapters worth of story that will take you to and fro across the mining colony. I am not trying to pretend that Gothic is the best game ever. It's not without its flaws, certainly. You can easily abuse AI, there is no tutorial, no crafting system, cooking system, or weapon improvement system, but even in spite all of that, the game is magical, and it gave me butterflies in my stomach each time I played it. When I was at school, I couldn't wait until I got out of classes and returned home just to play it. It's not every game that gives you such a vast array of emotions, because it's like discovering an early work of your favorite artist. You can see how they started, what ambitions they had, how crude open world looked like, but it's still as charming as the day you bought this CD 20 years ago. But why am I talking about the game that is 24 years old when a review is clearly not about it? Well, I have to say that it was imperative to set the stage for this little game. See, I had to tell you about one of the best RPGs in gaming history, because they influenced not only the tastes of teenagers and adults worldwide, but they created something stronger, a gnawing hunger for Gothic-like games. Bad news is, this genre was non-existent for more than 20 years. Big fucking vacuum. A Mariana Trench of video games could have been created in that time span, and for some reason, being that influential, Gothic didn't spawn any good offsprings. But the good news is, it's all about the fucking change. Welcome everyone to Drova Forsaken Kin. Drova Foreskin is a 2D open world RPG that plays just like a child of OG Gothic and Children of Morta would play, two games that devs openly stated they drew inspirations from. Also, I'll say it right now before you turn off the review. You can pet every friendly animal in this game. This is important. Dunks you off in a deep end as well. Almost no tutorial, no hand holding, no nothing. You're in over your head here, bucko. Ah, of course, we're in the Gothic comparison territory already. Since I started doing it, how about I rapid fire the entire chunk of similarities right here, right now, to get it out of the way fast. Foremost, it's an open world game where you can easily fuck around and get killed by incredibly dangerous enemies you have no business bothering. For now. Gothic was the first RPG ever in my gaming catalog that taught me that discretion is the better part of valor. Better part of valor indeed. Yes, you can swerve off the main course, but do you really think that you can handle what German woods have in store for you? You'd wish you could encounter a resident child molester in the bushes instead of whatever the fuck this thing is. Stay the hell away from areas marked with red paint. You'll live longer to tell the tall tales of your quote-unquote bravery. Next, you will have to join a faction if you hope to get a better armor and progress in the story, just like the OG taught us. I'm not saying you won't be able to buy armor, period, but the best pieces are reserved for those who pass the initiation test and get accepted into Nemeton or Remnant's camp. Speaking of joining, you get to choose between two types of armor. Light armor for dick-ass thieves who enjoy such activities as soliciting underage news on Discord and becoming communist without knowing what that means, and heavy armor for those who prefer peeing while sitting down and not taking care of their prostate after they turn 30. One is easier to dodge with and quick to undress in case of emergency gay sex, and the heavy armor provides better protection from females, parole officers, and detention teachers. Quests. I'm gonna be honest, I found the main character's motivation rather weak, but so was the nameless hero in Gothic. He was like, I guess I'm here now, better join some faction before I get fucked. And that was it. He took everything in stride and that was his thing. Delivering that letter was, just like Risen and Elix series, inconsequential. Guess what motivation we have here in Drova? Well, I guess I'm here now, better join some faction before I get fucked. Delivering the crystal is, once again, not playing a huge role in the mind of our German Homo erectus. Very erectus. Okay, this one I like the most. A living, breathing world where people have daily cycles, going about their business during the day and going to tavern or sleeping at night. I believe it is a cardinal sin to disregard the day and night cycle when making a video game. I don't believe in worlds where people just stand still 24/7. Let them walk, let them live, let them talk to each other and have houses. Is that too much to ask for? These devs clearly knew what they were doing. They had a checklist of things they needed to do in order to make a solid Deutschland RPG, and they've passed the test with flying fucking colors. Next up, animals that will also react to your behavior, lashing out if you get close, and they also prey and hunt each other, just like your usual field day of Twitter. Truly dynamic, thoughtful, and interesting. One thing I noticed, which was apparently a bug, was that if you were fighting against human enemies but then got ambushed by animals, you won't be able to hurt the humans. Minor bug, but still noticeable. Fix your fucking game, god damn it! Exploration that infinitely rewards the brave and the bold. Sure, it's better and safer in the town's tavern, but you'll miss out on all the secrets that the game so effectively hides away from the praying eyes. And check this out, this game even has a Witcher sense, in a way that if you hold the right mouse button, you will be able to see more than meets the eye, so to speak. Footsteps, tracks, unreleased prints, albums, treasures. It's a function that I found myself using from time to time, and I always find something interesting to take to the city with me, be it a chest or a snapter egg. Mining, skiing, skinning, alchemy, and other learnable abilities that enrich your playthrough. Don't miss out on those, they are legit great. Care to see if Drova's alchemy is as groundbreaking as that one other German game? Why not? The world is your oyster, as the saying goes. And as my grandfather used to say, I am not gay, but $20 is $20. Words to live by. Classless approach to leveling up. Just like the original baby formula, we don't have Diablo-esque classes that lock us down in terms of progression path. Instead, you're a formless blob that eats experience and shits various skills that you care to pick up. Everything depends on how you approach this. You can be the swiftest archer in the United States of Drova, or you can be similarly skilled with magic, even though you get to learn that a little bit later in the game. But everything is possible, even though you probably won't know what the fuck you're doing. But don't worry, you'll be okay. Combat is incredibly challenging. You will need to learn a lot before you start blowing the fuck out of enemies. Just like in Gothic, it's also as much about steering clear of enemies you can't handle as fighting them just like your life depends on it. there's no other way, as the famous song states. So, Just 2D, a famous Austrian indie studio that's in charge of releasing the game called Drive Forsaken Gods, introduced stamina, so that the combats would look and feel just like in Blasphemous instead of Gothic. With stamina, you can now dodge. Can you imagine the possibilities? Now, you can engage in a deadly dance of death with your opponent instead of just simply mashing left, right, left, right, left, right. I'm legit grateful for that addition, because it is such an incredible improvement on the formula. I can only sing praises to Just 2D. It was a bold move on their account to introduce such a mechanic, so the boys do deserve a sloppy toppy from a person that doesn't go to therapy. Drova also added something called poise. And yes, dear viewer, we have been spoon-fed enough Souls-like games to know that poise is something that prevents you from getting stunned. It does precisely this in this wonderful game. You only need to drain the poise bar to stun your enemy and get some extra attacks down on his ass while he is none the wiser. It's brilliant. But how exactly do we unlife the enemies in this wonderful little game? Well, 5 sets of weapons is what we got. Daggers, spear, sword and shield, bow, and axe. Since this game has dodge, bow builds are actually viable, unlike that fucking game. I swear to God, the accuracy was just abysmal. Sorry for getting off topic. Back to foreskin. Daggers are great if you suffer from premature ejaculation and into sharking. One big problem though is that you're gonna have to stand like really close to the enemy, so you'll be forced to smell their coffee breath all the game through. Spear is what I use, which tells you how far I prefer to be standing in all of my family photos. It's pretty cool and you can attack in quick succession if you figure out the tempo, Mr. Whiplash. Sword and shield are so fucking unoriginal I didn't try them even once. This is PB&J level of cliche. I'm going to leave a quote here from Bloodborne, the only game worth playing on PlayStation. Here goes. Shields are nice, but not if they engender passivity. Eh? And that's pretty much been my stance on shield in games as far as I can remember, which is not very far since the years are creeping up and dementia is knocking on the door. Anyways, shields suck. Boy, I got to tell you that American Psycho and God of War single-handedly restored my faith in axes. They're great, their radius is fantastic, their damage is unbelievable, and the cost of using them is only your humanity. But since you're into video games and not, I don't know, sailboats, you don't really have that much in terms of humanity to begin with. Am I right? But combat doesn't end here. No sir, because this game also has active abilities. Don't start thinking you can go ahead spamming them, for they can only be accumulated by hitting enemies and avoid being hit at the same time. That only means one thing: the skill ceiling is now increased to the moon, because you will need to learn how to dodge, block, and evade enemy attacks in your sorry ass hope of activating that one skill that will maybe help you live to fight another day. I'll issue a hot take right now. Gothic series was never about the story. Not directly anyway. It was, in an actuality, centered around characters and your interactions with them. In Chapter 1, you're an ordinary Japanese schoolboy. I mean, you're practically nobody. But in Chapter 6, you're thick as thieves with multiple characters of this vast, inhospitable, low fantasy world. It established an excellent foothold into our imagination, especially because the world was believable, had a day and night cycle with people going on their smelly business. It was fully voiced, with perfect amount of camp and banter, and opportunities looking at you from every corner. Can the same be said about Drova? Or is it just a nostalgia bait? Let's expand on that. Well, in my completely subjective opinion, there are 3 things that hurt Drova the most. Firstly, minimalist 2D pixel shit graphics that is certainly not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Indeed, it is a jagged pill to swallow, since most of us are used by now to 3D RPGs, and taking a huge step back to embrace the 2D elements like inconsistent combat, like dodging and slow animations, finding pathways to climb up the hills with no sense of getting lost in the gigantic world that the developers clearly spent thousands of hours crafting. Those things sure rear their ugly head from time to time. The second beef I have with this game, I would call unbalanced exploration. Picture this. I already mentioned slow combat animations, which would be fine if the rewards were worth it, but as it stands, your Drova experience will look like this. You will spend 5 to 10 minutes of fighting a huge boar or a bear, clicking your life away like you're working on an Indian click farm, and for what? 100 experience points and a large healing herb. Wow, what a fucking steal. There is no rewarding sense of progression. Does it make sense to explore a world that never rewards you? Do you really want to click your mouse for 20 minutes to kill that monster that gives you 120 XP and that's it? I'm used to exploring every nook and cranny in games like this, but holy shit, this game doesn't make it worth my while. I'm ready and willing to put in the hours and effort, but it seems it's only a one-way street in this relationship. Shame. And Exhibit C, story and world building. This one hurt the most. The writing in this game feels extremely generic, somewhat uninspired, boring yarn that is spun sloppily. I can see that many people just starting skipping the dialogue come chapter 2 because it's so boring. Also, that thing you do in chapter 3 is just unforgivable and took me out of the game completely. That other game I keep referring to never had the top-notch writing, but it had so many memorable characters you grow with as time goes by. I tried searching Drova for at least one memorable character and I returned empty-handed. One other point of criticism being vertical limitations. I'm not talking about playing as little people here. I'm saying that 2D perspective can fuck with exploration a lot. Picture this. You encounter some shallow water you can't cross or a mountain that you can't climb, so you need to, pixel by pixel, go around obstacles until you find the correct way. Even in the endgame, there is no rope ladders or climbing pickaxe that could save you thousands of hours of needless picking and searching for the right path. I can't tell you how often I circled around the mountains just to find the way to the mountaintop. 2D is a harsh mistress for open world. They don't necessarily mix well together. And that time I spent lost in the woods with Black Flame, shit, just fucking kill me now. I will never replay the game because of that chapter. Having said all that, do I consider Drova Forsaken Kin a bad game? Hell no. It's like saying I don't like eating spicy food because of the cathartic shit I'm forced to take after eating this mystery biohazard shawarma I found in this hole in the wall at 3 AM. We all have our aces and vices. This game is no exception. But you need to learn to take the good with the bad. I may catch a lot of flack for saying this, but I dislike the second half of Gothic a lot. It's not nearly as exciting as the first experience of 3 camps, meeting the characters, feeling your power grow and becoming one with the faction. When you're the strongest guy in the mining colony, there is nowhere to grow. No challenges, except for those dead orc shamans and exploring ancient alien pyramid. Whoop-de-doo. But does that truly sound more exciting than exploring a vast open world filled with secrets, friendships, betrayals, slow power creep, free balls of rice, and treasures behind waterfalls? You can see where I'm leading to, right? Yes, Drova fell prey to that trope pretty much beat for beat. I would like, however, to see a survival mode with food and drink requirements and saving locked to beds. This game does have Iron Man mode, which I'm grateful for, and I'm never touching it, but it should improve on somewhat stale RPG formula that doesn't connect us to the main character of the game, right? The devs don't hide behind the name of a better game. No, Drova is good by itself. It continues the Gothic legacy flawlessly, carrying that past torch with no question. This is old school done right. Marrying ruthless Gothic atmosphere with 2D was a blind leap of faith that delivers even more than what it promises. It's like finding a gift that your parents hid away from you for Christmas and it's December 12th. You never thought it would be so good, but it is. And I spout Gothic this and Gothic that almost haphazardly, but you need to understand, this game nailed the Gothic formula. Something that even the great Piranha Bytes couldn't do ever since the Night of the Raven. Sounds bizarre and sad, but the last 20-something years has been nothing but hapless experimentation with the golden formula, and as a result we got to eat shit for breakfast. Not any fucking more. Thanks to the folks from Just 2D, we now have an amazing game that feels and plays like an artifact of a forgotten era, when people were more advanced, everyone was happy, and Gothic was a part of school curriculum not just in Poland and Germany, but in all other third world countries. I hope I've given you plenty of evidence to prove that devs clearly had passion for what they're doing. They didn't just blindly copy the game they loved. No, they loved back, They gave back, and by the virtue of doing so, they multiplied their success. And I wish them nothing but happiness. Those guys are riding the lightning now, and only time will tell if they're going to be a one-hit wonder or a huge fucking powerhouse that will continue to make us happy with their future plans and games. And all of this boils down to the question of human trust. Do we trust them well enough to continue passing the torch and making great games in the future? Tentatively, I'm going to say yes. Because I thought we have Arcalos and that's it on the world of Gothic. No more games forevermore. The book is closed on the series. The studio is dissolved. People moved on. But the fans didn't. It was too dear for us. Too influential. Too instrumental. Hence Arcalos. And now, Drova. Because amid all those fans rose a studio brave enough and smart enough, not just blindly repeating the formula, but improving it, and thus making it last longer. So let's raise our glasses for Just 2D and Drova Forsaken Kin. For the madmen did it. And we're coming home, lads. We're coming home. Thanks for watching.